wasn't supposed to be this way. When Sean and I boarded the plane to Rome with his family for Eleanor's 70th birthday, I thought I was stepping into a week of celebration, a tribute to years of planning, compromise, and dedication. Instead, I was stepping straight into a carefully crafted ambush. The first warning sign came when we landed. As we exited the terminal into the warm golden light of the Roman afternoon, the Caldwell family barely acknowledged the transportation I had spent weeks arranging. Eleanor wrinkled her nose at the luxury vans waiting curbside. "I thought we specified something more appropriate," she said, her voice sharp enough to draw glances from nearby travelers. I smiled politely, reminding myself that their disapproval was reflexive, not personal. It was just who they were, or so I thought. Over the next few days, the hints grew harder to ignore. Private breakfasts I wasn't invited to, sudden changes to the itinerary discussed in whispers when I was conveniently out of earshot, inside jokes about past trips that I, of course, hadn't been part of. Still, I pressed on, determined not to let my feelings cloud the event I had poured my heart into planning. Every flower arrangement, every private tour, every late-night email to Roman vendors. It was all meant to make this week perfect, to show them, perhaps foolishly, that I belonged. On the morning of Eleanor's birthday dinner, I overheard the conversation that shattered any illusions I had left. Through the thin walls of the hotel's business center, Eleanor's voice rang out, imperious, cutting, final. "There will be 12 seats, not 13, she said. "His wife will not be staying for the dinner. It's a family matter. 12 seats, not 13. My seat, my place, deliberately erased." And Sean? He knew. He had agreed. The knowledge settled in my stomach like a stone. It wasn't forgetfulness. It wasn't a mistake. It was a message. You are not one of us. I arrived at the restaurant early that evening, as any good planner would. Aroma sat atop a rooftop terrace, offering breathtaking views of the Colosseum bathed in amber light. The table sparkled under the stars, Eleanor's favorite flowers, a curated 7-course menu, every detail painstakingly perfect. Perfect for a celebration I was never meant to be part of. I checked every detail one last time, confirmed every arrangement, smiled graciously at the staff who assumed I was simply another happy guest. Then I stepped into the night, into the cool Roman air, and waited. The Caldwell convoy arrived 20 minutes later, dressed to the nines, laughter and chatter filling the rooftop as they made their grand entrance. I walked behind them, scanning the table. 12 seats, 12 place cards, none for me. The moment froze in time. Conversations faltered. A few faces showed awkward sympathy. Most simply looked away. Eleanor smiled tightly. "Is there a problem, dear?" I met her gaze calmly. My heart was a thunderstorm inside my chest, but my voice was steady when I said, "Seems I'm not family." The words hung in the air like a slap. Sean let out a nervous chuckle. "Oops, guess we miscounted," he said, and a ripple of laughter spread around the table. Thin, forced, vicious in its cruelty. They thought they had won. They thought they had orchestrated my quiet exit with no fuss, no scandal. They thought wrong. I turned without another word and walked away, not hurriedly, not in tears, but with a dignity they could never touch. Through the restaurant, down the grand marble staircase, out into the Roman night where scooters buzzed and laughter spilled from nearby cafes. I crossed the street and ducked into a small cafe opposite Aroma, ordered an espresso, and pulled out my phone. Because while they toasted their triumph, I had 30 minutes. 30 minutes to burn their perfect little world to the ground. First, the email to Marco, the restaurant manager, as the event coordinator and account holder, I had full authority to reverse the payment authorizations. Second, the calls to the vineyard, the private Vatican guide, the luxury villa in Tuscany, all arrangements made under my company's name, all secured with my own business credit. One by one, I canceled everything. Each vendor expressed confusion, then understanding when I provided the necessary documentation. The deposits flowed back into my accounts. The meticulously planned week unraveled, thread by thread. Meanwhile, the first texts from Sean began to arrive. Where are you? Come back. We can fix this. Mother is upset. I sipped my espresso, savoring the bitter taste, and ignored them. Because the truth was, there was nothing left to fix. They hadn't just excluded me from a dinner. They had excluded me from a life I had spent 5 years trying to be worthy of. And now, they would reap the consequences. Before I tell you exactly how I turned their celebration into their collapse, if you believe no one deserves to be treated like an outsider, especially after giving everything to people who never truly accepted them, hit that subscribe button. Stories of reclaiming your power are just beginning. Now, let's return to the rooftop, where the real party was only just getting started. From my table at the cafe, I had a perfect view of the rooftop where the Caldwell family toasted Eleanor's birthday under the Roman sky, oblivious to the fact that their celebration was already collapsing beneath their feet. I watched the waitstaff begin serving the first course, the imported oysters and caviar Eleanor had demanded. Glasses clinked. Laughter rose into the night. For a moment, I allowed myself a bitter smile. They thought they had erased me, that I would simply vanish. Instead, I had become the ghost in their machine, pulling every invisible string they didn't even know existed. I sent the final confirmation email to Marco, instructing him to inform the family that payment had been reversed. Without immediate new payment, dinner would be interrupted. A breach of etiquette they would never live down in the circles they so desperately clung to. 5 minutes later, Marco approached Richard Caldwell at the head of the table. I watched from my hidden seat as confusion bloomed across his face, spreading like ink in water. He pulled out his wallet, gesturing to the restaurant manager. Marco shook his head, pointing to the tablet screen, no doubt showing the cancellation and the outstanding balance. Across the table, Eleanor's posture stiffened. Her hand hovered over her glass, frozen mid-toast. Melissa leaned in, whispering frantically to her husband. Sean's phone lit up as he no doubt received my final text. All deposits have been returned to my company account. All arrangements canceled. Your financial troubles are about to become very public. Enjoy your dinner. It didn't take long for panic to replace smugness. Richard stood abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. Eleanor clutched her pearls, looking around in confusion and growing anger. Thomas pulled out his phone, likely trying to reach me or any vendor who would answer. Sean was the only one who didn't move. He sat frozen, his face drained of color, his hands clenching and unclenching into fists. He understood immediately, more than the rest. He knew what I knew, about the offshore accounts, about the bankruptcy looming behind the Caldwell name. Marco remained composed, patiently explaining, no doubt, that without immediate payment, the service could not continue. That the restaurant had strict policies, even for esteemed guests. The Caldwell facade, polished, untouchable, superior, cracked right there, under the soft Roman lights, and I savored every second. My phone buzzed furiously in my lap. "Anna, where are you? Come back. You're embarrassing yourself. Mother is furious. You're making a scene." Making a scene? No, my dear Sean, I wasn't making a scene. I was making a statement, one the whole city would hear. I turned off my phone and stood up, leaving a generous tip for the cafe waiter who had kindly left me undisturbed. Then I crossed the narrow street back toward Aroma, through the service entrance, the one I had scouted earlier that afternoon just in case. Marco met me near the kitchen, his expression a careful mask of professionalism. "Senora Caldwell," he said quietly, "everything is as you requested." "Thank you, Marco," I replied, slipping him a sealed envelope containing a thank you gratuity far more generous than any the Caldwells would have offered. "You've been wonderful." He nodded and disappeared back into the main dining room to carry out the final piece of the plan. I positioned myself in a small alcove just off the main floor, invisible to the guests, but with a perfect view of the chaos unfolding. The restaurant's sommelier approached the table next, murmuring something to Richard. I could almost hear Eleanor's gasp as she realized that the wine pairing, meticulously selected, outrageously expensive, was about to be cut off unless they paid up front. They weren't just facing embarrassment, they were facing exposure. And the Caldwells feared exposure more than poverty, More than scandal, more than anything else. As I watched, Sean finally stood and stalked away from the table, phone pressed to his ear. The screen flashed with my name. I answered. "Where are you?" His voice was a low hiss of panic. "What the hell are you doing?" "Seems I'm not family," I said evenly. "So I'm not responsible for family celebrations." "Anna, please," he said, desperation leaking into his words. "We can fix this. Just come back. We'll explain. We'll say it was all a misunderstanding." I smiled, unseen. "Explain what? That your family orchestrated a public humiliation and counted on me being too meek to respond?" There was a long, heavy silence. "Look," he said finally, the anger slipping back into his voice. "You're making this worse than it has to be. You're hurting yourself too." I almost laughed. "You already hurt me, Sean. This question mark, this is just cleanup." "You have no idea what you're doing," he snarled. "You're destroying everything." "No," I corrected softly. "I'm letting it destroy itself. I'm just stepping out of the way." I ended the call before he could answer and turned my attention back to the table. The staff was now collecting the plates from the first course without replacing them. Wine glasses stood empty. Conversation had dwindled to sharp whispers and uncomfortable silences. Eleanor's face was a mask of rage and humiliation. Across the terrace, other diners, real Roman aristocrats, not mere American imitators, watched with poorly concealed amusement. The Caldwells' disgrace was becoming a public spectacle, exactly what they had tried to orchestrate for me. It's incredible how quickly carefully constructed empires can fall. One misplaced assumption, one underestimation, one woman refusing to play her assigned role. I wasn't the outsider anymore. I was the reckoning they never saw coming. And I wasn't done yet. The collapse of the birthday dinner was only the beginning. As the Caldwells scrambled to salvage the evening, their carefully curated Roman holiday unraveled at a breathtaking speed. Word spread through the high-end hospitality circles almost instantly. Rome is a city of whispers, and tonight the whispers had sharp teeth. Through the windows of the restaurant, I watched Sean pacing outside on the terrace, frantically making phone calls. Richard had vanished, no doubt searching for an ATM or a desperate wire transfer solution. Melissa was whisper-shouting at a waiter. Eleanor sat rigid, glaring at the champagne bottle still unopened on the table. They had come to Rome to celebrate a legacy. They would leave with that legacy in ruins. My phone buzzed again, not with Sean this time, but with alerts from the vendors I had canceled earlier. The vineyard scheduled for their private lunch tomorrow confirmed the cancellation. The Vatican guide, a rare licensed expert for private tours, politely thanked me for notifying them and expressed their regret over the sudden change. The Amalfi Coast yacht charter, gone. The villa in Tuscany, booking rescinded. All arrangements, all deposits, all the prestige of their exclusive family trip vanished. Every luxury they had planned to flaunt to their friends back in Boston was dissolving into dust. I had pulled one thread, and their entire tapestry was coming apart. At the heart of it all was simple leverage. Everything had been booked under my name or my company's name. The Caldwells hadn't bothered to double-check or demand control. Why would they? They saw me as nothing more than an accessory, a convenient tool, a background prop to their grand production. They never imagined that the planner could become the storm, and storms, once unleashed, answer to no one. The restaurant staff made a final, discreet request for payment. When it became clear no immediate funds were forthcoming, Marco personally informed the Caldwells that, regretfully, the remaining courses and the venue space could not be continued without settlement. The family tried to negotiate, to stall, to plead. It didn't matter. In the world of luxury events, appearances are everything. A family unable to settle a dinner bill would be whispered about across every high society table from Rome to Boston. Reputation isn't lost in grand scandals. It crumbles quietly, one small humiliation at a time. And tonight, the crumble had begun. Sean finally found me. I saw him pushing through the restaurant's back corridor, eyes wild, face pale. "Anna," he said, voice hoarse. Please, just stop this. I stood calmly, hands folded, dressed in the midnight blue Valentino gown I had chosen for this very moment. Stop what? I asked lightly. I'm simply enjoying the evening. You excluded me from dinner, remember? This isn't just about you, he hissed. You're ruining my mother's birthday. You're humiliating my family. Funny, I said, tilting my head. I seem to remember that was your plan for me. His hands clenched into fists at his sides. You have no idea what you're doing. You're making a mistake. If you think this will end well for you... I cut him off with a smile colder than the Roman night air. The mistake was underestimating me. I brushed past him, heels clicking sharply against the polished floor, leaving him standing there, deflated, helpless. Behind me, the Caldwell dynasty was already starting to sink, and I had barely even begun. By the time I returned to the hotel later that night, my phone was a minefield of new messages. Richard Caldwell. You have no idea what you're messing with. This is actionable. Melissa Caldwell. You're finished in this town. You'll regret this. Thomas Caldwell. Hope you enjoy being cut off. You're nobody without us. But the most desperate messages came from Sean. Anna, please, we can still fix this. I'm sorry, I never meant for it to go this far. Mother is devastated. Father's furious. Investors are hearing about tonight already. Please, I need you. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then I turned the phone off and slid it into a drawer. Tonight wasn't about Sean's needs, it was about mine. Early the next morning, I finalized the last piece of my plan. Through a trusted contact at the hotel concierge desk, I learned that the Caldwells had managed to scrape together enough jewelry and promissory notes to cover the dinner. Barely, but the damage was done. The vendors for the rest of the trip, the vineyard, the villa, the yacht company, had been informed of the Caldwells' payment irregularities. In the small, interconnected world of luxury services, reputation travels faster than formal credit checks. Within 24 hours, every vendor associated with the Caldwell Event Week would require upfront payment in full. No one was willing to extend the benefit of the doubt to a family already infamous for a public financial embarrassment. Their dream Roman holiday had turned into a desperate scramble for face saving, and the cracks in their carefully polished image would only widen from here. Would you have stayed silent after such a betrayal? Or would you have quietly, methodically, taken your power back piece by piece? If you're ready to see how the fallout only got worse for them, and how I walked away stronger than ever, hit that subscribe button. Because the best revenge, it's not shouting, it's smiling as the empire falls. When I returned to Boston, I didn't go back to the Caldwell brownstone. I didn't answer Sean's frantic messages or his last-ditch voicemails pleading for reconciliation. I went home, to my own apartment, to my own life, to a future no longer shackled to a crumbling empire. Within days, the scandal began seeping through Boston's upper crust. The society pages, usually filled with bland praise for fundraisers and charity galas, hinted at financial irregularities within the Caldwell Investment Group. Major clients began quietly withdrawing their portfolios. Longtime allies distanced themselves. The Caldwells' gilded reputation, built over generations, was rotting from the inside out. I watched from a distance, detached but not without satisfaction. It wasn't just the public shame. It was the realization that, for once, they couldn't control the narrative. No whispered half-truths behind closed doors, no polite cover-ups at country clubs. The truth was out, raw and undeniable. Eleanor was forced to resign from several prestigious charity boards. Richard's business partners started calling for independent audits. Investors demanded transparency the Caldwells couldn't provide. Even their own extended family, once their staunchest defenders, began to back away. The mighty Caldwells had fallen, and I was free. I focused on rebuilding my company, my brand, my life. Ironically, the scandal that had engulfed the Caldwells only boosted my reputation. Clients admired my discretion, my professionalism, my resilience. Bookings doubled. Partnerships I had once only dreamed of became reality. Freedom tasted like late-night walks along the harbor, like sunrises viewed from my modest but beautiful apartment, like laughter that wasn't measured or forced. It tasted like breathing without permission. 6 months after Rome, I received a formal invitation. Eleanor Caldwell's personal assistant, in a tone as brittle as dry paper, requested a bid for planning Eleanor's upcoming charity gala. I read the email twice before laughing out loud. The audacity was breathtaking. I declined politely, citing a full calendar. There are some rooms you don't need to walk back into, especially when you know you were never welcome to begin with. The divorce proceedings were surprisingly smooth. Sean, under heavy pressure from his family's ongoing financial collapse, agreed to my terms quickly. No messy court battles, no gag orders, no attempts to salvage appearances. The documents were signed. The chapter closed. Sean married Vanessa 2 months later in a small, subdued ceremony that barely warranted a mention in the local papers. Their daughter was born a few weeks after that. I sent no gift, no note, no acknowledgement. Some silences are louder than any words. A year to the day after I walked away from that dinner table in Rome, I stood on another rooftop, this time on the Amalfi Coast, overlooking the glittering Mediterranean. I was there as the lead planner for an international celebrity wedding. The air was warm and salty. The music floated on the breeze. Every detail was perfect, not because I needed to prove anything, but because excellence had always been mine, not something granted by acceptance into a family or society. As the bride laughed with her new husband, as guests toasted under the setting sun, I realized something that made me smile. They had tried to make me small. They had tried to erase me. Instead, they had freed me. In losing what I thought I needed, their approval, their belonging, I had found what I truly craved: myself. If you've ever felt like an outsider, if you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or betrayed, know this: you are not defined by the doors slammed in your face. You are defined by the ones you build for yourself. Rebuild, rise, become unstoppable. If you felt the power of reclaiming your story, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living a life so full, so rich, so unapologetically your own that the people who once tried to break you can only watch from the sidelines as you soar.